My name is Dina Merhat. I'm Egyptian. I'm studying in Freiburg, Germany this semester. Actually, someone here mentioned for the first time, last session we did not mention the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan. We just talked about it as Afghanistan. And thank you for mentioning this. Why I mentioned this is because we always mention that we want to implement democracy. Democracy is a European term. Within it, people rule. But maybe in an Islamic form, as what I view as democracy is maybe different than what you view. Maybe as a woman in the Middle East is different than a woman in Europe. So my question will be, does NATO have that in mind? Do they know that that people in Afghanistan have a different idea about what democracy is, about how they want to see their government? And is there a talk between them? Do they have a ground to discuss what the Afghan people want? Thank you.
Let me start to defend myself. I think I at least once used the qualification Islamic Republic of Afghanistan, and I was discussing with one of your colleagues universal values. Listen, the answer to your question is affirmative. I'll not make a plea in Afghanistan, in the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan, to introduce, let me talk about my own nation, Dutch democracy. Because finally the Afghan people will have to decide themselves what they want. My second answer to your question would be that over the past 5 years, I think I've done a lot and invested a lot of energy, together, for instance, with your foreign minister, Abul Gate, in Egypt, to see that I work on NATO's image in your part of the world. And I say again, like I said in your colleague's question on Russia, it is important for us that in your region, in Egypt, in the Islamic world, in the Arab world, NATO is also not considered as an alien or an alien body. I don't believe in the clash of civilizations. I do believe in the protection of universal values. And let me be open and frank with you. When we had in Afghanistan, when I say Afghanistan, in the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan, we had this process of the boy who downloaded the text from the internet and was sentenced to death. I think it has now been converted into a long prison term. I discussed it with President Karzai. Not to impose my view, but to question President Karzai, whom I may consider as a friend by now, because I very frequently meet him and I respect him. I said, Mr. President, this is what we should discuss. If we discuss values, we might have a difference of opinion about, but we must discuss the notion of universal values, because otherwise I have difficulty in convincing, I repeat what I said before, to convince people in my part of the world that it is worth going to the Hindu Kush to fight and to be killed for those values, because our guys and girls are killed in Afghanistan. They pay the highest price, the ultimate price, for the respect of universal values. And I defend that. And I defend that. Also to the father or the mother or the loved ones of those NATO soldiers who come back in body bags or coat. It is worth this ultimate and the highest price. Let us as NATO respect always Islamic values. Islam is a religion, goes without saying, Islamic values. I can tell you that it's interesting to see, but if I look at NATO nowadays, 60,000 soldiers, 60,000 in Afghanistan, 15,000 in Kosovo. To do what basically? To protect the majority in Kosovo, the Albanian Muslim majority in Kosovo. Running a training mission in Iraq, Islamic country, dominant Islamic country, right? Kurds, but also Shia and Sunni. All right. If I look at the Darfur crisis and I see that NATO is assisting the African Union in Darfur, not on the ground, but by transporting African forces in and out of Darfur, because the African nations do not have the helicopters and the planes to transport those forces. I can tell you that the large majority of NATO's operations are in the Islamic world. What does that mean? It's interesting. It means that an organization which is firmly rooted in the Jewish-Christian tradition is now more and more in the Islamic world. What does that teach? It's a very fundamental one. It teaches me two things. First of all, that always we have to respect culture, religion, and history. If we don't expect in Afghanistan culture, religion, and history, we'll fail. Respect culture, respect religion, respect history. Example, you don't do house searches. When you know there are women in the house, you see that the Afghan National Army does house searches. I admit that that's not always going entirely right, but I give you the principle, my principle. You respect religion, culture, and history. What is the other essential part of this discussion? Is what it is all about when we say we're defending universal values. And there I have to ask for your understanding as you ask for my understanding. Without entering in the clash of civilizations, respecting each other's value, respecting each other's religion. And I must admit, that is a fascinating phase NATO is going through. But I give you this message. It is interesting to see that this organization, with its roots in the Jewish-Christian tradition, is now very, very, very much involved in the Islamic world. We do not always do it right. You do not always do it right in your part of the world, but without a basis for respect and without the notion of universal values, I do not dare to send a 19, 20, 21-year-old boy to Uruzgan or Kandahar or Ghor or Faizabad or Mazar-e-Sharif in the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan. It's a fundamental question. Thank you for putting it to me, because it is indeed fundamental, and it is important for NATO's future, I think, and for your future as well.